Hey Greg, I wanted to show you a couple things on your dash. I got it on mounted up on my bike here just to test everything out. But to show you how this thing mounts, just uses the two lower bolts that goes to the fairing stay. So you got the bolt and then this 1-inch spacer goes between it. And then you'll see that on the back side of this thing, I got a bunch of these rubber boots that covers up all of the connections on the push buttons for the LEDs and stuff. And this here is the connector that runs all of your buttons and everything. So I'm going to back up a little bit. So this is the factory gauge cluster connector. So the dash harness will just plug right into that. This is a little 1/2 amp glass fuse that needs to be has to be in there anyway. I'll send you a spare fuse. Wanted to make that accessible. Db9 connector, I'll give you a USB to serial connector to be able to connect to the dash if you want to be able to, make any changes to it. And then this connector here with the yellow and the blue wire, let's see, the yellow wire becomes a ground when the upper left push button LED is pushed. The blue one becomes a ground when the upper right gets pushed. Now that is really, I wouldn't switch much of anything with that. Again, this whole thing is fused at a 1/2 amp, so that would be intended really like to trigger a relay if you wanted to use it to turn something on. And then last but not least, you have this connector here. So this will be, everything here I'll try to have bolted together for you when I ship it, but this guy will be off. And this is your bike harness. So anyway, that's going to go along your left ram air tube. And then you're going to want to get that into your engine compartment here. You need to be able to plug in line to the gear position sensor. You can see I have another gear indicator that's plugged in here right now. Actually, it's just laying there, my bad. So the 3-position, gear position sensor connector that has pink or red, black with white, and then a blue wire. That's what you want to disconnect, plug my stuff in line. And then your coolant temperature sensor, which is kind of hard to see here, but it's on the back side of the head. Don't confuse that with the one in the airbox. But so, disconnect that guy and then plug. You'll see 2 green connectors on the actual harness. It's really hard to see here, but plug that stuff in, and that's all that you really got to do for the install. I'll go ahead and turn it on. So the way I have it set right now, so you see my zero oil pressure lights on. Let's see, what else do we have that works? High beam, left signal, right signal, which is hidden behind my boost gauge here, and then the hazards. And then this is your menu button. So if you wanted to, mess around, there's really not a whole lot to do with these buttons. This is the select button, which will take a, like a max value for RPM and stuff. This guy here is the up button, and then this guy here is the down button. The up button can be used to go to different screens. Right now I have 3 screens programmed for you. Okay, the second screen, I moved a couple things around just depending upon like what you wanted to look at in the larger portion. And this is easy to configure. If you want to change this down the road, I'll show you how to do it, or I can send you a new file. And then the third screen, I put on here GPS raw voltage. The gear position sensors on Suzuki's they're sometimes pretty tricky to get nailed down. I've got it dialed in perfect on my bike. Again, like what you see for voltages with just key on compared to running and stuff like that, it can be different. So if you have issues where your gear indicator isn't reading the right gear, or it's toggling between a couple of gears, it'll be good to go to this page, go cruise in that gear, and get the actual voltage levels that we're seeing on your bike, and we can tweak that in. Obviously, these are your staged shift lights. So I've got it set to come on, I forget, 9,500 or 10 grand is when the first one starts to come on, and then they'll all flash, and that's adjustable too. So I had mentioned before, these guys become grounds. Again, you're going to want to use that just for a relay type connection, but they only light up if you have them pushed in. Certainly won't hurt anything to leave them pushed in all the time if you like the way it looks with them lit up. So other than that, go ahead and fire it up here just so you can see it. We'll go back to your first screen. That's what she looks like. Temperature is in Fahrenheit. What you will notice too, it's got a decent amount of filtering on it, but if you've got like your run switch off or there is no connection to it, you'll see it go basically to its max value, which is 275. That's what happens when it reads 5 volts. What was I going to say here?